Good morning and welcome to Dripping with Meaning at noon on the Spirituality Gone Wild Network. Hello, everyone out there. We're so excited to meet with you today. Today, Lee and I are having a really great discussion on some spiritual topics that will run through our channels and into our cards, and we'll be able to reach you guys, the masses, in order to help you guys start and become more part of your spiritual daily life. We offer this on our show, as well as today a special guest who is coming in and discussing some of his many interesting developments throughout this time spiritually. So without further ado, I'm just going to bring Lee in. I think she's here now. And there she is. Thank you.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
Yes. How are you today, Lee?
I woke up this morning.
Yeah.
That's always a good way to start the day. My grandpa used to say that anytime somebody asked him how he was doing. I woke up this morning.
Yeah.
Take it how you will.
Yeah. Just having a
Take
day.
it how you will.
So today's discussion, I think we talked about, is sort of around different things that, increase and um, sort of align to our coming for full forward in ourselves spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. I think that our guest today will have some really interesting insights on his own journey. His name is William, and he's a journalist, filmmaker, and consultant life coach. And he'll be helping with the show as well. So that's good.
Yeah,
And we will be doing our readings. So we're just on topic to like just sort of where is the universe with you now, and how are you feeling within it?
right. We were just chitty chatting before the show started, and like three times the strength card came up. And I think that one of the themes of what you and I talk about, hi Luke, in our private conversations, and what I think a lot of people are really embarking on is a journey, right? So we're all moving forward through our life and we're trying to become, or we're trying to be what we think the universe wants out of us, or what we believe we should be, or the best version of ourselves, or, a better Christian, whatever it is. We're all on this journey to somehow better ourselves. And I think that a huge part of moving forward on that journey is that strength and that courage to step outside of our norm.
Mm.
Am I brave enough and strong enough to act differently than I have for the last 52 years? Am I brave enough and strong enough to love myself enough to give a shit? Am I brave enough and strong enough to step into situations where I have no idea what's going to happen and I have absolutely zero control, and I have to surrender it all to the universe and what's happening? That's the question. And I think each of
Right.
us has our own questions about
A
that
deep surrender.
on the journey.
How did
Yes,
I
because
get that?
logically we can do this stuff.
Yeah.
Like technically it's one foot in front of the other. It's make this decision, do that thing. But can we actually follow through on it? Not is there an ability to? Of course there is. We have to be
Or
brave
what is
enough to
the
do it.
block to the ability? And when you see such strength in people, my client yesterday is a really interesting story, because you see this person and you see people and you see their strengths. And being a seer, now that I see the energy system and I'm working on the energy system and being given the blessing of seeing as I am going through and unfolding some of my own inner work. I think what it is you're right. It's like, in the end, we're kicking the bucket for ourselves. So we're reverberating consciously or unconsciously how the setup should be, could be, may not be. But when we go to gratitude, sacred space, love of self, and we stay there and we create that and we create in those ideas that first, the space around us is sacred, the earth is sacred. Secondly, I am sacred. We're going leaps and bounds beyond what historically has been gifted as understanding. Like I visit an interesting story. on my walk and on my recent developments with the gym, I always walk over because I love nature so much, and I go through the gardens. And I think I showed you the church that I go around. It's this like 18th century echo of archways and mirrors and windows and roses and flowers. And it's just so enchanting. But as I was coming down the hillway the other day and I looked up, I saw the sacred symbology for Holy Spirit just right at the peak of the church. And I'm like, they actually use sacred symbology before this new, right, whatever they call their religion. I'm not religious, but I thought, wow, okay, this is so neat and right in my face at the right time, in alignment with my energy system, because then I can see it. I see it through the vessel. I experience it through my vessel. And that's really what we're doing. We're sitting screens and ducks to the rest of the world. So every time we're taking in thoughts, concepts, and ideas, we're regulating based on our own biases, which you're saying, 50 years of a bias, someone telling us it's this way, you know what I mean? To be like, well, maybe nothing is real. Maybe nothing we've been taught is truly real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's questioning everything and having the bravery to step into something completely new, completely different. Even if it's just something as simple as not having coffee every morning.
That's hard.
For some people, that could be a huge shift, you know, and not to say that this is what we're comparing all, you know, these really deep emotional things to, but it's our life, are simple things that we choose in the moment. What we choose to do makes up our life. And these simple choices that we make as we move forward on these paths where we're trying to expand, improve, grow, better ourselves, exist, whatever, each step is a decision to take that step. And, you know, that takes a lot of bravery.
And it takes as well, I think, timing, right? And I think a good example is when others show up to you and it's like, yeah, that's how I saw you. When people tell you how they see you, even challenged or not, like when they actually get to express that to you and you reverberate it to yourself as like not that big of a deal, or you continually just to you don't really praise yourself, right? You don't give yourself that esteem, right? My friend stopped me and literally at my heart yesterday with her hand. And I was like, why am I, it was a really interesting moment of why am I avoiding to face myself in that heart center? Because the mind's just going to continually go, here, I'll give you another idea. I'll give you something else to chirp about, give you something to go on about, give you something to not go on about. Is it in alignment with your cause? Are you lining up to your cause of yourself, reason for being here on planet Earth at this lifetime? You know, because to me, it's a very vital decision-making process when we acknowledge that we're here for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
We have
Hi,
Kathy.
Kathy. Welcome back.
Aligning to divine purpose is a beautiful walk in the park with many twists and turns to it, though.
Yeah.
And it's
And
okay.
I'm finding that it's the abstract portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
When it is your purpose, it is the abstract portion of it, because if I stop, nobody notices but me.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying, if I stop doing these shows, if I stop posting on the internet, if I stop and I only practice privately,
oh right, yeah.
Does that make
You're
a
more
difference?
steady in, yeah.
If I stop practicing privately but keep doing the shows, what does that do? You know, if I stop everything and go, this is too much and I don't want to do it, I just want to trudge along blind to the world and to my own
Please, I don't
gift.
want to see these things. Yes,
Right.
I've had lots of moments.
What
like
does that do? You know, and being willing to continue to go forward in the purpose when there is no check. There's nobody that's going to at us. We're talking about earlier in our conversation before we got on about being our own parents and monitoring our own behavior. And, and that's another thing to be brave about, to be brave enough to stop yourself, to love yourself enough to have discipline. But that purpose is so important. There's a word for it that the Japanese use, and I can't remember, but it's a really big thing that when their population gets older, that they have to continue to have this particular thing, which I don't remember the word, but it's their life purpose. Because if they don't have that, then they start to wither. It's
Yeah,
almost like
it's
that's what
called
connects.
chi, which is in their life force, but it is like a big thing. Like, and they respect each other just like I respect plants. So another thing is like when I'm getting really into my spiritual capability, I'm always in contact with plants and I talk with them, and I talk to the cat. Like these are things that have me really waken my ability, because I'm not just seeing the vessel as a vessel, but I'm seeing the plant as what maybe the original design was, right? We're meant to have relationship with this so that we understand that we're designed. Like we're all designed in that sense, which is too divine, which has not been taught. Again, that question remains, why not? Why are we getting these lessons ourselves, understanding this simplicity, and it seems to be nowhere around us, right? It's not
Mhm.
showing up. This
And
did
like
occur though. I
and
wanted to,
like you were saying,
oh, sorry.
go ahead. No, you do your
No,
thing.
no, you
I
do it.
lost my train of thought.
Did
I
you?
lost.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had on the 26th into, I think it was the 27th. So this would be a photograph that was done of the opening of the galactic to us. So we are now completely open. There was another dark night of the soul that actually opened us into being interconnected to all of these planetary systems and in alignment to. So for anyone who's channeling or anyone who is interested in those responses or is open up to universe, there has been like the maybe one of the first many starts to the Great Awakening, which they say is supposed to be 2032, I believe that it would be, you know.
I mean, that's what I want. My thought was that all of that astrological stuff, like it's interesting. And yes, for some people, it will tie directly into their life. But what I want to reinforce for our audience is that everybody has a different spiritual path. Everybody has a different belief system. Maybe that's not your cup of tea. And yet we're all experiencing the same energies. And so like that's part of what makes it so difficult, is because each person's answer is literally different. And it's
But
not
but
only
it's
different,
inspiring
but
because
it's a
that makes us
different
all unique.
understanding.
Yeah.
Right. But it's a different understanding they have to go through. But why that makes it difficult is because it's not an exact direction. We can't say, or somebody can't say, this is how you do it, X, X,
Yeah.
X, X, because it's different for every single
It's
person. And
random.
so, right, you have to take this outline of what multiple different paths say works or is right or is soothing or is helpful, and then figure out what works for you, and figure out what brings you along the path and what makes you come alive and what gives you that connection to divine, because it might be different than the stuff we're talking about. You might be allergic to cats, you might hate the outdoors. I don't know your life, but using the examples that we did, maybe you like to walk along the pavement and look at the lines and see the geometric patterns. One of the people on my timeline finds hearts everywhere she goes, in rocks, in flowers, in pavement, in buildings, whatever it is for you that connects
Mm.
you. Beautiful. Do it, please.
Okay, with that being said, I just want to let everyone know that William is here. So I'm going to add him into our stream and say good afternoon.
I'm a Cancer, Aries, Taurus rising.
And that's what makes you spiritual.
My Mercury is in the second house at good for 3 degrees.
Leave that for the practitioner. That's what we do best. We can tell you. You can find your life purpose and your soul purpose in your chart.
Yeah. No, I spent I probably spent like 7 years on the astrology bandwagon. It's very mathematical. Very mathematical.
Yeah, very
I
mathematical. I'm
got in
reading a
deep.
book right now on the history of it, like the ancient history and how it got,
Mm,
each religion took from a different lineage, so that we can actually
mm,
go into like where it came from, so we could realize that we've had greater intelligence and technology, not just because we have computers now, right? Like Earth
right.
has had Earth has had many goes at it.
Yeah, I mean, even though, a lot of people leave out and forget that even the entire story of Christianity begins with astrology. And the astrologers, they were looking for, they were based on astrology. They knew Jesus was coming, and it's like it's kind of like
Oh,
left
right.
out.
Yeah, the
And
star.
it's sort
Bethlehem, yeah.
it's left out
Mm,
of a lot of discussions around Christianity. I like
mm.
the idea of like what I like most about what my very, very basic learning of astrology was like the idea of when we discovered Pluto. Like when we discovered Pluto was a
Yeah,
planet,
yeah.
and where we were at as a society, and in our consciousness, and how that has an impact on our understanding of astrology. That there's some like historical consciousness. So astrology would be different back then when they
Mhm.
before they knew about Pluto, or they had the technology to
Right. Or
understand
it
Pluto.
was in
So I think that,
alignment, as I was kind of showing with this new sort of view that we get of the universe as being a part of us. Sorry, Lee, that you're getting cut out this whole.
well,
It's like I can try to change it so it'll work. I don't
there
know.
you go. I'm just kidding.
That help
I'm just
us?
kidding.
No, this made it worse. Now I cut myself out. Oh, I can go over here. Okay, like, so do you see what I mean? Like, it's like, how do we know? Because I only know by having my channel and thoughts, and then I have to open my channel in order to get the information. So for me, I get divine inspiration from having, um, I just don't like that version. Let's see there. Yeah. So I get divine inspiration, or I get my channel open and understanding by one, collecting wisdom and being able to have many sources of it, not one, but maybe 10, right? I have to be intrigued personally because I've been doing this reading type since I was 13, investigative spiritual reading and stuff. And then now that I have a channel that opens, thank God for that, I have a basis visually. And then once my channel is open, I get shown things and pages.
Hmm.
So yeah, so it's a kind of a blessing now that it's open, but like it took a lot of work for me to be okay with that too.
When you say be okay with it, meaning like there was some rejection of those ideas.
Self-rejection.
There's refusal.
Yeah, that's a part of
Well,
the growth. Actually, fourth
yeah.
and fifth awakening states are you're going through the dark night of the soul and you're not going through it once, going through it and going through it until you realize that's just the story of this one lifetime. Like that was just the interpretation of not having a sounding board as a child. That was, you got good at this because you were alone in yourself a lot and you were intrigued by things in your own way. And that would also as well show up in the astrology too, that all this stuff is meant to be happening. Our growth is meant to be going through some dynamics, ups and downs and arounds, and up the top of the mountain and look down and then roll down again, right? Like,
Well, yeah. I mean, being here, we're initiated. We're initiated
mm,
deeper into our lives, and these initiations come in different forms.
mm,
And they, a lot of us are reluctant to these initiations, these callings that separate us from what we think we know, and what we understand, and what makes us feel comfortable. And then we're sort of catapulted into these unknown territories, and where
mm.
transformation takes place. So sometimes
Yes,
it's
right?
if we
Because
don't.
Earth, and I was doing this as therapy for one of my clients, is when we train, for me, I was transforming the idea of Earth in the mind of the person through some hypnotic sort of suggestion. And I was and it was really working for this person, so I just kept going with it. And I'm like, if we all saw Earth in its historical reference, and that's why I wanted to speak today as well about the secret book of wisdom that brought me through. I got it on Audible, and I listened to it 7 times, and it taught me that there's just been so many lineages and so many time eras, way beyond what we can even conceive, that we can't even be in the fullness of ourselves, because that would have been part of our many lifetimes, our many identities, and our many times here, or we wouldn't have came in with this level of cognition and understanding. So for me to reject my levels of cognition and understanding is like the dark night of the soul, because that's vibrating my chakra, that's opening my channel, that's making me me. It's the bread and butter of who I truly am. So of course I'm going to be depressive. Of course I'm going to be angry. I'm not using my tool. It's useless.
Yeah, it's the reluctance. It's the refusal of the call.
Resistance. Resistance is futile, as they say in Star Trek.
Well, if
Resistance
it doesn't, if we keep resisting, it'll come in other ways. We will be initiated regardless of whether we want to be, and that's where a lot of illness comes from. Is that, or death, or sudden death? Is that if you refuse the call, you will be initiated regardless, and sometimes it's against your will.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean that's what
You think it's
illness
against
is.
your will. You think it's against your will. I remember the passage that I was sharing on,
Right.
in the afterlife. A lot of people think it's like one way or the other. And I think it's an incredible discussion, because I don't know, there's a lot of people that realize that the Earth journey is a little bit of a movie and a story now. And I keep meeting people who want to discuss that out of the norm, like just sitting in a cafe and just not even discussing it, and they come to me to have that discussion. Like my client yesterday knows me as a friend and contacted me to be a healer for her. I haven't advertised myself as a healer, but as an adept, I am called. I can't ignore the call, and it's true. And when we go up and we go back into divine source and self, there's always a choice, though, which is so intriguing. There's still always a choice in the dynamics of the light and the dark, and the understanding that we're gaining of what could potentially be light language in the future. But we're dealing with both the light and the dark here. We're in the school of that art of both the light and the dark.
And that's what we were discussing before you came on, William. Hi, William. It's very nice to meet you. I'd love to hear more about what you do. What we were discussing earlier was we were talking about everyone is on a journey of some sort, with some sort of purpose, going somewhere. And I would think that most people would like to better themselves, to better their circumstances, to serve the universe, to some sort of purpose along the way. But that it takes an extraordinary amount of bravery and courage in our own lives to make the choices where we change the paradigms, or we change the things that we do, where we choose to think differently, act differently, move differently. And I have heard that you have made some very large changes in your life. And I'd love to hear a little bit about the changes that you've made and what pushed you into where you are now at this space in your journey, where you're lifting your resistance, obviously.
Okay, well, let's go back a bit in what you said, because we are living in those times right in front of us, as far as our people. You said many people want to better their lives, and I think that's what we're seeing right now, is that maybe they don't. Like that's a question that I have. Like, you know, there's all this information that has been out there, and more, and whatever you're facing, whatever we're facing, whether it be right now with COVID, or with anything all along the way, all these topics that we're so divided by, all the information is out there. And what I'm, all you have to do is read. Like, really, all you have to do is read. And but I don't think people want. I think a lot of people don't want to. And I think that this, it's like we used to tell these stories about these characters these heroes of books that we would follow, and they're the ones that would answer the call. And they were supposed to inspire us. When we would read these books, they would inspire us, but not a lot of us would go on these adventures. And so it really is that question, is that something that everybody wants to do? I'm not sure. I mean, I know people, I know that's what sets me apart from a lot of people that I know, is that, I am out on adventures in my life. I've always been out on adventures in my life. And so yeah, I don't know if all of us do. I think all of us can. I think we all have the opportunity to do that. And I think we're all, again, here's what I believe, is that the purpose of us being here, whether we choose it or not, is to answer the questions of why are we here.
Interesting, right? Instead
Yeah.
of avoiding it. And I think what's caused an avoidance practicum is they showed a picture of inside of a jail auditorium and inside of a school auditorium. And I think that has a lot to do about it. Is I enthusiastically jumped off the bandwagon and became a bit of a gangster of knowledge at a very young age. And why did I do that? I know now. Now I know why I did it. But I think it's in that teaching and understanding the philosophy of self, right? There's so many prolific writers over centuries and centuries of wisdom that talk about us as a self-identity, that your self-identity matters. And the masses, I think they're programmed quite oppositely. And I think that's where we're having that space that William's talking about, is they don't understand by opening to themselves and opening in here and here, and then fortunately to a community, which is the bravest step of all, that they are embarking on, change that is everlasting, right? Like Lee is a channel and a writer. She's wrote her book through a channeling experience that she was given in an awakening, who had no spiritual desire at all, right? And
that's what I was just going to say, is that I have no interest in any of it's fascinating. But for me, in my mind, the universe already told me what the purpose is of us being here as people. We're expressing unconditional love filtered through a human experience. And I believe that each one of our purposes is to embrace this and to expand it, because our frequency changes everything. Now, there's a purpose beyond that. There's a purpose that set that up. There's a thing, like there could be a million things going on. And I don't think any human actually really knows, whether they look at ancient knowledge or whether they're talking to the galactic whatever. There's a million different answers for it. But the thing that reverberates personally is always connect with divine, vibrate that love, perceive everyone through divine eyes, and expand that as much as you can, just to have the experience. Because I believe that our experiences are expanding the knowledge of the universe, which expands the universe itself. Makes that energy bigger and bigger and bigger. That's just but I don't have any kind of like book knowledge. I don't read shit. I don't watch people. I don't research anything. I just open my mouth and let whatever comes out. But it makes it very simple, because the message that I bring is always a very simple message about love each other, love yourself, just focus on seeing things from, that side. But I'm fascinated by the journeys that the seeking knowledge takes people on. So I'd love to hear more about where it's taken you, William, on this journey of discovery.
It's funny that you asked me something about myself, but it's after you say all this stuff that I want to respond to. And it's not because I'm avoiding.
Say whatever you want.
I'm not avoiding talking about myself, but I think that I want to acknowledge some of the things you said, as far as like all of our experiences and everything that we learn adds to this larger consciousness, this larger knowing. And I love that concept. And it's so interesting. That's what people are afraid of a lot with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's like V'ger from Star Trek. It's V'ger. The first Star Trek movie is they sent that thing out into space that constantly was gathering so much information that it became a threat because of everything that it had learned.
And that idea that it becomes a threat. Like, I just like, this idea that knowledge is a threat, and I think that's very fascinating. Also, just you used words like divine and love and stuff, and it's like, unfortunately, that's not. I don't know the percentages, but it's not what like. I definitely see all that stuff because I have that in my life, and those are the people I choose to be around. People who believe in the divine and people who believe in love and stuff. But like 5 minutes on Twitter or on Facebook, you see the exact opposite. You see a lot of there
It's
is a
fear.
lot of
It's
fear
fear. It's
and
separation from love. It's
separation.
what's being
Exactly.
expressed by the anger. It's separation from love. They know it should be this way and it's not. And they don't
But
know
yeah,
how to get to it. And rather than expressing more light to find it, they are fighting.
well,
Yeah.
they don't know how.
And
They
it's
don't
a bit
know
of a
how
Right.
to.
setup too, though, guys. I think that from what I've watched, and please do not take this verbatim, but last night fell into the CERN word, and that was my first episodes of that. And I actually have felt that probably since September of last year, in my divine self, in my feelings of others and things around me, that there is a definite force that is forecasting against that goodness. And I'm not going to say or label the name or the time or a date for that, but there are challenges there within in order for people to do as we do so naturally, right? I say to myself sometimes, why am I gifted like this? What does it really even matter, And then I'll take a show like this, or I'll take an opportunity with someone else, or I will take a walk in nature, and then I'm just instantly in the enlightenment phase again, right? So I think it's a lot about discipline and the cause and effect of our thoughts and emotions and how we actually chime into ourselves and other people. And what is happiness to yourself? Like, is it health? Is it wellness? Is it maintaining wellness through this post-COVID experience? Is it having good interrelations with one another where we see one another, which they say the masking did take a huge component of that out of our lives, which is 2 years of that, you know? And I think it's honoring and trusting again, trusting that our connections with others can be fulfilling, as well as understanding the connection to self. And once we're in with self and we are becoming our own best friends in the process, then we realize that we have to let go of those leashes because we're just being held against what is our divine virtue, which is love and understanding. And all sacred texts speak of that, um, which I've had my nose in for 20 years. Like, they all speak of this space that she's speaking of, which I've read on prevalently. And it's love, and then it's even beyond that, sixth, seventh dimension, eighth dimension, ninth. The dimensions are accessible now. Is it an irony that all this timing added up to this point to point us in this direction? I don't think it's an irony. I think it's a reality.
Well, I think it's very interesting. And I do believe that the timing has a lot to do with it. And the COVID experience, however it was for people, it forced everyone to sit still in their own shit. And it forced the whole world to stop. And I think that without it, we wouldn't have been prepared. Because I do, and maybe it's because I'm a Pollyanna and I'm always looking at the positive stuff. I do see a lot of people who have never been spiritual or who are jaded by religion, who sat in COVID and decided, I don't want to keep doing the same thing I've been doing. I want to do something different with my life. It really made people stop and look at themselves in a different way. So I do think the timing was very important to that. We headed into the age of Aquarius. I mean, I'm not a big, again,
A
I'm
very
not the
good
big
point.
astrology
It's very
girl
rich.
because
I
it
think
goes
it's
right
been
over
meant
my
to
head.
be in some strange, odd, bizarre way. Because one thing that I got with my divine acceptance was divine acceptance of all. I don't have tight parameters anymore. Like I actually see that that is one of the most just places in our universe, is those beings, entities, including myself, that have taken that rite of passage that say we are all a phenomena, we are all one, right? And it's in that oneness, when we stop the separation within our consciousness that we aren't, that we open up to what we are and therefore what the other is. So we stop that ridiculous war. Even if they're the most, horrible, cerebral being in the universe, all they want to do is destruct. That's kind of cool too, right? Like,
Right. We don't
that,
have to transform everyone. We
no,
just have to get enough of the energy going until it
it's
like
all
pops
energetic.
us into
And
something else, you know,
there's
like our
absolutely,
frequency
yeah.
affects others. Our energy affects everyone around us. So the unconditional love that we feel goes outward from us for a mile, 2 miles. Everyone knows someone who walks in the room and everyone gets happy and they haven't said anything. Everyone knows someone who walks in the room and the whole room goes, oh my God, this person, and they haven't done anything yet. It's literally like this energy that comes before them, that comes after them, that is coming from them. You know, you can change the energy of a room. If you sit there and you start to get mad, you can make the whole room, uncomfortable. So I just feel like if enough of us are walking around, are viewing the world, are perceiving, because Einstein said we're changing the world through our own observation. If enough of us are looking at these horrible things that are happening, these people who refuse to see this life and this thing where the balance is like this, if we're able to see the other side of the yin yang with love, with understanding, there has to be a balance. And I send you healing. I see the wounded person that is expressing the fear through killing, through
That's
bombing,
a
through
great way to
hurting.
get the cards going today, right? Like that's a great way to, that's a great topic for the cards, I did want to as well, William. He did grant me permission to show some of his wonderful work. Was
We keep
captured.
talking. We haven't heard anything about what William actually does. You and I just yap, yap, yap. Me especially. I apologize. But please introduce us, introduce our audience to you, introduce yourself to us so we can get a little bit of background and know
Because
what
I
you
have
do.
to take a look at this. This is wonderful, guys. Is a very talented photojournalist and filmmaker. So let's share that. Is it okay like that, you think? Or do you want me to try a different?
Sure. No, that's great. I mean, I haven't seen this stuff for years, so it's kind of interesting that you.
Yeah, I fell in love. Like I just find there you really in your photographs bring out so much expression and life. Like I feel like I'm right there with the individual. And it is so holistic almost, your work. If this is
That's a good story. Those guys. That's a great story. How I met them. These photographs are representational of the journey I've been on in my life, and the people that I've come encountered with. Just this guy.
wow,
I mean, this guy
this is
was
awesome.
on Venice Beach, and he started yelling anti-Semitic comments at me, and they were very aggressive. And I kind of heard the calling while I was walking by. I
Wow.
think he called, yeah, and I kind of heard the calling, and I turned around, and there was like these, you know, six really big black guys in they were wearing like biblical, they're called Black Israelites, and
Wow.
very very hateful, angry speech. So it
Mm.
seems, and so
Mhm.
and so I kind of just turned around and was listening to them, and while I was listening to them and they were sending me this energy, I was kind of like praying and asking for help, and I ended up becoming
Ooh.
great friends with them, and I ended up going with them to, through Compton, helping them deliver food and stuff. It was a total
Wow.
turnaround.
So
Yeah,
they brought you right into present moment in a way that all of
yeah,
that hatred
that was
actually
great.
like went to the other side of the
And
spectrum,
it
which
wasn't
showed.
hatred. It was my concept of hatred. It's like, just because somebody calls you a bad name doesn't mean that that's what they believe and that's what they think. This is just our that's our way of communicating. This is
Mm.
the
Yeah.
pictures of my family, and
Aw.
when I lived in Los Angeles.
Aw.
As my good friend Vanessa. This was all the beginning of my photography, of like when I first started learning.
Yeah, you're incredible. Just absolutely. And I mean, your
This
vol
woman, this is a really interesting story. I was taking her picture and I was just like so blown away by her beauty. And, you know, I was telling her how beautiful she was when I was taking her picture, and she started crying. And I think there might be a
wow.
picture because nobody had told her that before. And I think that the next picture might be of
That
her
just
actually
speaks volumes
crying.
too, right? How we influence each other's moment. It could be that perfect stranger, it could be a client, it could be maybe like for me, the message is the reason to sort of like get out of limbo and realize our purposes within ourselves is it's sort of like a joy factor. And then that joy is the true abundance, right? Because you're allowing it and you're experiencing it and you're expressing it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, this was Frank Sinatra's mansion, uh,
Whoa.
and there was a party happening there, and I just
Mm.
took a bunch of pictures of some interesting people. These guys were just totally interesting.
Yeah. And that's the thing is personal uniqueness, accepting and appreciating that was one of my first slogans ever is like everybody is unique and beautiful in their own way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was actually this was one of my first deliverance. I was ordained as a deliverance minister, and I did a deliverance with this young gentleman, and it's three
Wow.
days of uh, of of delivering demons.
How did it go?
It went amazing. Yeah, it went
And when
amazing.
you become a deliverance minister, did you sign up for that at a church? Did you learn it through? I wasn't sure what your faith was, but
I'm not sure what my faith is either.
Same. That's a mood.
I know. I think we
At
got
the
it
time,
backwards.
at the
Spirit.
time, maybe it was something. You know, I about 10 years ago, I was really, I mean, it's always fascinated, but at the time, I was very fascinated with people who had stories about being saved
Mm.
and finding Jesus. So I decided that I was going to find Jesus, and so I gave Jesus 40 days, and and I filmed the whole thing, and I
Wow.
bought an RV and I drove across the Bible Belt looking for Jesus, because I grew up as a Jew with this concept of that Jesus
Mm.
didn't exist. So I thought
Mm.
this would be an interesting experiment to see if
Yeah.
Jesus did exist, and
And
yeah,
where
I
can
just sort of,
somebody like where can you watch this documentary? Is it on YouTube? Is
you
it
know, it was that was a very personal experience that ended up happening, that for some reason I just decided not to. I filmed the whole thing, but I decided not to turn it into a film at the time. But I did make another movie called Jesus Town USA that you can see on Amazon Prime.
okay. So it's
All
called
right.
Jesus Town USA.
Jesus Town USA. It's a pretty funny movie.
I think I'm more than willing to give that a shot for sure.
Yeah, I think you'll like it. It's a very funny film.
I want to do now more than ever after that. Like, I really want to do a card reading because I think this is going to be just epic. I've never had a card reading in the midst of figuring out this like diversity. With like, because usually you and I, Lee, and now we've got
Mhm.
this whole other vibe, and I really think that's going to be interesting to see what the cards say today.
You're okay with sticking around, right, William?
I'm here. I just pushed my next meeting until another 45 minutes from now. So I got
Oh,
time.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
honored. Thank you.
I
So,
was
do you
having
do
fun. So
readings?
I texted him.
Are you a reader, William? Do you do that kind of thing?
Uh,
Do you?
I mean, I no, I'll say no, because I mean, I've done, you know, I've explored energy work and healing and remote healing, and you know, I think we all have the opportunity to heal, and I've delved into it So
Mhm.
I
But we
understand it.
do a little bit of a collective thing here when we
Great.
do our readings, and we just ask someone in the audience to, to say that they're open. I usually pull a rune for the whole room, and that includes you. You're in the room with us now,
Yeah.
Okay.
and Nicole jumps in and adds whatever impression she gets. If you get a strong impression, Juju, if you get a strong impression, please jump in. Add your
Sure.
healing, add your experience to it.
Thank
I
you.
always believe that whatever comes through in the moment, I'm very big on listening when they speak and repeating it, whether it makes sense to me or not. And I find
Okay.
that that's the best way to go into this, is to let me be blank and just say whatever comes to my brain. So we'll start out with a rune for the room. Anyone who wants a reading, please make sure that you jump into the comments, and Nicole will
June.
grab you and throw you up there, and we'll throw this in. So let's do the rune for the room today. What is the energy of what we're jumping into and going through? Okay, we got some malachite. So whatever we're doing, we're protected. So this is Northeast, and it's interesting that we're talking about the Northeast. And William, since this is your first time here, I use a book from the 90s I've had since like 94, 93. And it always, so I
Beautiful.
always read the words because the universe kind of pops out exactly what's necessary. This is not these. It's constraint, necessity, and pain. And it's one of the lessons is to learn how to move through when you're under constraint, to move through pain. It's the
Hmm.
spaces where growth has been stunted, and it results in weaknesses that we tend to push on other people. So the thing that it's telling us really strongly right now is don't take the world personally. Don't take anything anyone does personally. Work with your shadow, examine what's in your nature that's attracting this. It's not blame, don't self-blame. But when you can look at this and smile, this rune of constraint, when you can look at the thing that's been holding you back, that thing that is causing the resistance in you, and smile, you're good. Like, know that you're protected. Once you can look at it and see it for the challenge that it is, for the obstacle that, if you believe we prescripted our lives, that we put in front of ourselves, right? She needs to learn this before she learns this. He's got to know how to do this before he can get to the next step. So it's taking those moments of weaknesses and turning them into our strength. So
I'd like
that's
to
what
tell you,
we're pulling for the room.
I'd like to say
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
When you asked me about healing and cards and stuff like that, what I was going to say, but I didn't think we had the time to get into it, which is very interesting, was the type of work that I do with people is I help people sit in their pain. And I help people,
Mm.
especially physical pain. So one of my specialties is when people have physical pain, I help them heal through sitting with their pain and not judging their pain and bringing their pain on, shaping their pain. So I'm blown away that that's what
Yes,
you pulled.
Yes,
there
I
you
Because
love
go.
I
it.
was
I
going
think
Pain.
to
I
say
think
that,
that
but then
I think
I decided not to say it.
So
well,
this
but
is a
Then you
good
said
for
it.
the room. This
it
is
was already
perfect
being
because what
said.
it's
It
saying,
was already
right?
being
It's
said.
saying that this is what the room needs to talk about and needs to be
Mm,
focused on. So you're the right person to have here
yeah.
while we're going through this particular energy that people
This is
need
what's
sound
happening
release
right
from.
now is that we're all
It's
going through a
happening.
lot of pain right now.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because I looked at the roots for guys just out of like my own curiosity, and this historical reference point of just 200 after the death, when the Goths created other Germanic tribes located in that area of the Black Sea. The runes were inspired by the Greek and Latin alphabets, and there are many arguments in the theory of it, but they were spread all over the middle and northern Europe in the migration of tribes. So it's a very tribal, it's very much so ancient language based, but it's in a modern context here, revealing how much power it has to synthesize and bring together the possibilities of a true healing. Because I quite agree with what William has said is we can't discount the darkness. And as long as we do that, actually, Debbie G, if you're out there, she's the one who owns this network that we're on right now, Spirituality Gone Wild. And she has the saying, your dark is your spark. Didn't quite understand it
Mm.
until I got into mine, but it is like So there's lots of echoes and revealing here that there's great potential to be able to see us as going beyond sitting in the pain and revealing our own inner healer.
So who are we reading?
In
Who are
the
we healing
room.
today?
Oh, I think
Who's in the room?
yeah, June said that she's available right now.
And I know Luke had said earlier that Luke wants one. Juju, if you're out there, big hugs. Juju's been my friend and watching me and participating in my shows for probably since 2017. So
Oh,
it's wonderful. Okay, this is for you, Juju. A rune for Juju. Algiz, you are protected. So whatever is happening, know that you are thick in the protection of it. Let's take a look at this. For some reason, I'm pulling that the animal connection here, the elk protection, the sedge or the rushes. It talks about control of emotions right now, that you're in a time of transition, either super, super fast, either really good, or something that's changing that you're not quite sure of whether it's going to be good or not. So it's really talking about not collapsing yourself into the highs, but also not low, like going down into the depths if things don't tend to be turning out the right way or the way that you want them to. Your biggest battle, Juju, is always with yourself. It's always with yourself. But you have to know that you're protected in this. Be mindful and know that if you're feeling pain, stay with it. Observe it and try not to sink into it. Sit on the edge of it and taste it to try to find out where this specifically is coming from, where this moment is at. What does Juju need to know moving forward that's going to help her control these ultra highs or these super lows? Okay.
that she's got to awaken her own inner genius, I'm getting.
We have the Strength card. We have the Queen of Pentacles. So obviously the Strength card. The Strength card is really, so this lion here, this lion represents our primal self, our most fearful self, the part of us that makes us lash out, that makes us react, that makes us jump into things before we should, because we're coming from a primal place of pain. This woman is soothing that primal place of pain. You see her petting the lion, seducing the lion. She's got this infinity symbol. She's really taming this space of primal pain that makes her jump into it too quickly. So I would say don't jump to your conclusions about how your life is going, about what direction it's going in too quickly.
I got that too.
Yeah, because this Queen of Pentacles is talking about, she's a little bit detached. The Queen of Pentacles are abundance, but she has a plan and she executes it, and she does it from a detached place where she allows the process to happen and she doesn't jump too much into it.
She got the Ice Queen with me, which is the same non-action, like
Right.
taking non-action in the face of the diversity, not moving forward, but just being the observer.
Right. So whatever's going on, even if it looks like you're being betrayed, if it looks like someone's hurting you, if it looks like the world is out to get you, whatever that is that's coming at you, these rods, pause. Not pause, but pause. Like take a pause and allow it to play out without judging it in that moment as good or bad.
Pause.
Because you are protected. You are protected in this. Okay, you are big like that giant elk, okay, Juju? And you got a lot more protection around you than you might see.
Yep, and there's a fairness and a balance, and when the divine feminine is entered into this too within oneself, when we are going from the masculine and the feminine aspects of oneself, Empress, Emperor, here I'm hearing, because a lot of what she pulled up with me is a lot about fairness and balance and integrity and compromise, which is within her hold, as she can understand to sit back and to take a look at the bigger picture, that she already portrays those qualities, and those qualities are what are actually helping others too. And that, you know, in her inner geniusness, I love this card. It's beautifully done, awakening genius. It's that inner genius that is going to be awakened through those observations, and she'll have more close counters with spirit as well. When we have closer counters with spirit, we have to be open to listening and hearing too. So then she says, I am. Yep. She says, I am.
Perfect. Perfect. You got this. Be that Queen of Pentacles, woman. You're pulling out. You got this. I know you've been going through so much over the past. It's always seems like it's an uphill struggle,
Yep.
but you're good. You're good. Just know that you're protected. You got this.
Yay.
Who's next?
Who's next? I'm not sure. We've got definitely 7 viewers right now that are. I can just put a shout out if you want.
Yes,
June.
please.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
June.
who I call her Juju.
Oh, you just did.
Yeah.
Okay.
I call her Juju
Okay.
because I've known her for a while in the shows and whatnot. So
That's adorable. Sam says that Luke was asking. Yes, Luke is ready.
Luke was asking if Luke is still here. I'm ready to pull for Luke. It's been a minute, hon. All right, let's see. Room for Luke. Okay, while I'm pulling this, just so you know, I just got goosebumps over my whole body. That's usually a sign that it's a connection thing. So my legs also, which normally it's just, but everything just goose pimpled up, and it's like
Now
80
you're
here.
giving me
So
goosebumps. Stop.
yeah. So we pull the blank rune. Blank is the beginning, blank is the end. It is the rune of Odin. It is the all-knowing, the all-father. It's the alpha and the omega. It's really the rune that has the most potential that we have here, the unknowable. Wait. There we go. Odin, the all-father. Blank is the beginning, blank is the end. It is the rune of total trust and should be taken as exciting evidence of your most immediate contact with your own true destiny, which time and time again rises like a phoenix from the ashes of fate. But here's the hard part, and I think that this is the part that they're highlighting for you. Relinquishing control is the ultimate challenge for the spiritual warrior.
Wow.
Sometimes this can represent a death, but a lot of times that death is symbolic about a way in ourselves. So relinquishing control is the ultimate thing for you. It is at the same time pregnant and empty, completely empty. It's almost like the Schrodinger's box. The cat inside is both alive and dead. And literally the universe is kind of saying it could be anything that is about to come up. I think you kind of know what is going to change, what at least within yourself, that you're feeling something really big. So I'm actually going to focus on how can Luke move into this energy, relinquishing control. Because a lot of times the control is over us trying to make things go the way we want them to, us trying to shift ourselves in the direction that we want to go. But like we were saying earlier, and like William was saying, well, you're pretty much signed up for the journey that you're on. And sometimes what we want in our 3D human is not always the direction that the universe wants to take us on. And it's very interesting to me because I've been getting this. I got these last week a lot. The High Priestess, you already know. High Priestess knows all the secrets, knows exactly what's happening. She is the strength behind the throne, who keeps her mouth shut and her ears open. All right. We also have the 8 of Cups and a Page of Pentacles. So 8 of Cups speaks about walking away from something that seems to be well established, but is no longer serving you. And that's part of this High Priestess saying, you already know what needs to go. You already know what needs to be left behind. This person is walking away and leaving all of these valuable cups behind because they can see back here in the distance that their destiny is awaiting them. And the comfort that they have found in those cups goes by the wayside because of the message of this Ace of Pentacles, this divine offering from the universe, this message of Pentacles. And you're protected the whole way. Queen of Cups, all the love, unconditional love for yourself. She represents the most wonderful mothering mother energy that loves you in a way that an earthly mother cannot, even the best earthly mother, but it's close, it's close. Not all of us know what that feels like, but we can imagine how it would feel to be enveloped in the arms of divine. That's that Queen of Cups energy. So as you're going through this and making that decision to lose, or the death, as it said in the book of this, that it portends a death, That's this walking away from what seems to be established into a space where you no longer have control. But that's where you're meant to be. That's where you're meant to go.
So it did show up exactly for me the same way that you had brought it out, that there was this uncharted sea. So for uncharted sea, meaning that you are embarking on something that, although it does show that there is a measure of higher knowing and understanding and understanding a transformation, but that it would be a completely new journey and that it would take a serious amount of communication and storytelling is all over these cards. So definitely looking forward to. He also mentioned he wanted to be on the show too recently, so that was kind of cool. And I've had some one-on-ones with him, so I'm sure that there's something real going on for him. That's crazy.
William, how you doing down there?
I'm doing great.
Okay.
He's in receiver mode. He's just like, I got
There you go.
girls.
I'm happy for all the people that are getting these wonderful insights.
Well, if you decide
Kathy's
you want one,
ready.
you let me know. Yes, I'm going to pull for
open.
Kathy right
Of
now.
course I want one.
All
Yeah,
right,
because
we'll
you
pull
said
it
you
up.
had time. I have time today. I'm free. So we have
There you
Kathy,
go.
and then we can do William.
We'll do Kathy and then William. All right, so let's pull for Kathy. Kathy, let's get you a rune. It's really particular for you. Really particular. Okay, we have Fehu for you. This is the rune of nourishment. It is the rune of possessions. So let's take a look at what they want to highlight for you in this. And again, Kathy, I know you're a little bit newer here. Nothing I say comes from any sort of judgment. I don't know you. I'm speaking the way that the universe puts it through me. Sometimes I use words and phrases that mean something to you, but don't mean anything to me. This all comes from unconditional love. I love you dearly. And it's all meant for your own knowledge. Take it as you will. Okay. It is the rune of fulfillment. It is the rune of ambition satisfied, love shared, rewards received, and promises nourishment from the most worldly to the sacred and divine. For if the ancient principle, as above, so below, holds true, then we are also here to nourish divine. So your energy that you pull also adds to the collective. And as you pull from the collective anytime you need it, you are nourished. It's calling for a deep probing of the meaning of profit and gain in your life. And it's telling you to take a really deep breath and slow down before you jump into something really big, especially when it has to do with money or fulfillment or ambition. When things are going well, like we're rolling downhill, sometimes we have a tendency to let off the brake and just let us go willy-nilly down the hill. But I think the universe is really wanting you to take a measured approach to this thing that's coming up or that's already in motion. It's already in motion, but it may not be showing a lot to you yet. How can she be mindful in this? How can Kathy be mindful to this? Okay. I pulled the King of Swords and the Moon with how you can be mindful. Now, the King of Swords, swords are truth. So the King of Swords speaks his truth. He is the leader of the troops, and then he lets the chips fall where they may. He's a very detached energy, the type of masculine energy that sacrifices 3 people to save 3,000. And is able to sleep afterwards. He has that sort of an energy with him where he understands that sacrifices must happen when truth is spoken or lived. And along with this, we have the moon. The moon is about a separation. You see this path that walks right down the middle between these 2 towers. The moon is us walking down the middle of these 2 towers of emotion, where we're in a detached state, where we're recognizing that we are a part of this bigger image, we are a part of this bigger picture, and not taking it to a space where we're attached to either outcome, because we know that what is coming, it comes from love, it comes from divine. We understand the gift that is being given or the message that is being brought, but it's really important as you step into this space of possessions, nourishment, fulfillment, to recognize that there may be sacrifices that you have to come at from a detached point of view as you're going through this. It's not loving, It's just doing what is necessary for the journey that you're on, for that nourishment. And I'm almost hearing boundaries in a way in my mind when that comes up.
Yeah, on the masculine too, I'm seeing like a feminine force, and I'm hearing it's her, and there's some masculine forces that might be intermingled or in the way potentially, but that she does have a powerful move of her own to make, and that it is in coexistence between spirit and herself, and that'd be a great amount of synchronicity towards that once she can release that understanding her power in it.
It's always a big thing. All right, Kathy, I hope that helped you. I hope that addressed something that you're going through. Again, I don't know you. Please don't take it personally. No judgment. No judgment.
And just let us know, Kathy, if that resonated with you or how that resonated with you. You can just let us know, okay?
All right, let's jump into William if you are ready and open. All right, perfect. So what does William need to hear right now?
A lot of things.
Okay. Sowelu. This is one of my favorite runes. Sowelu is the rune of wholeness. It is the rune of recognizing that within yourself you are completely whole, completely fixed, and it is the journey to that realization that actually creates that reality within us. It is the life force and the sun's energy, and it speaks about the path that we should follow without following our ulterior motives, without following those paths that feed our ego, and rather to recognize our wholeness with divine and following that wholeness. Because what we are striving to become in this wholeness, we actually already are. It's literally, we're already there, like Dorothy. There's no place like home, and you had the power to go home the whole time. You know, all we have to do is click our heels and recognize that we're already in that. It's a rune of great power, making this entire life force available to you and marking regeneration down to your spiritual level, down to a cellular level. And there's no reverse. The rune has no reverse. So the entire situation that you're going through, you can move forward in it without fear. You don't need to retreat because you are seeking wholeness that you already have. So let's pull out. All right, one jumped. What does William need to hear to support that wholeness and that journey towards it? Okay, we got a whole story.
The eternal journey home is so Dorothy. Like when you said Dorothy, I had literally had a client this week at work, and she and I had a couple interactions, and we had this ongoing kind of chuckle and giggle. And she was like, yeah, it's just like, there's no place like home. She was on the last phase of her reconstruction after fire, water damage, or whatever. So it was really unique because I needed to hear it, and she made me laugh. And I was just like, it's going to be great. You're going to get through it. That's awesome. Last steps are in. So, and it was a Dorothy moment for me too.
Well, what flew out of the deck is the Five of Swords. Now, the Five of Swords is about conflict, but it's about the conflict that's created through pursuit of truth, speaking truth. It tends to talk about arguments or having a strong opinion, and sometimes they can be avoided, and yet it's very important that they are expressed. So it represents a duality in the way that we're speaking and the way that we are interacting with others. If we look at the way that this person is carrying the swords, there's 2 swords on the ground back here and 3 swords that they're holding. The 3 swords is the representation of heartbreak, and 2 swords represents our own blind justice, where we have 2 paths and we can't quite see which one we're supposed to go down. And you can see that sometimes by holding on to our heartache, we're leaving the decision part, the blind decision part of not knowing which way to go behind. We might stay in this energy of fighting and speaking truth so long that we never pick up these 2 swords that help us make that decision, that help us step onto that next part of the path. So this one flew out. So that's talking directly about this wholeness, because I was asking about how you can embrace this wholeness and what is standing in the way. So some of this is a speaking of truth in such a way that holds it as a battle rather than expresses it and lets it exist on its own. But what we got with this of how we can navigate this Five of Swords is combative, almost in our own minds sort of energy. We have the Ace of Cups. Aces are always a gift from the divine, and cups are unconditional love. So whatever is happening, and in your level of your own resistance, know that you are protected, know that your cup is overflowing, know that this journey that you're on is exactly where you're supposed to be. These lily pads really stand out to me on this. And right behind it, you have the Ace of Pentacles. So that's another gift from the divine of abundance. Pentacles are abundance, not just in money, but also in stability and family. So with this, you have two gifts from divine of love and stability that they are giving you as you are speaking your truth. But that wholeness is achieved when you're able to actually fully embrace that gift.
Wow.
Embrace the message as it comes, this Page of Swords, that message of truth, to deliver it as a page, maybe, rather than an argument. And that can be within your own mind too, these places where we argue with ourselves, to be a little bit gentler, a little bit. A page is kind of like the young kid that you send with the message. The knight would be, I'm coming with a sword to bring you the message, and then this will be, we're going to beat you over the head with the message. So like maybe this energy of being a Page of Swords with the way that we speak to ourselves or others is for the way that you can step into this. This Seven of Cups energy is really it's almost like the breeding ground of what comes next, because every one of these cups has a different option for how you move forward. Every one of these cups is a different specialty, if you will, or a different niche that a person is interested in, or a different talent that you have. And this magician is like mixing them all up. And you get to be the one to decide which truth you're going to speak next. You get to be the one to accept the gift that is being given to you and to choose your own path forward.
And exactly where, and interestingly enough, is it highlighted just in the oracle cards? It's that gentle kindness that's really necessary at that time for your resurrection and surrender to the change. So a Phoenix card came in there really strong in the middle. This is just absolute transformation in time. And then as well with the Lady of Lightning, which I don't pull that card very often, so I thought it was interesting. That is sometimes shocking, but going through a total paradigm shift can definitely be shocking and full of surprises. So
thank you so much. That's all very insightful for what I'm confronting right now in my work. So
okay,
great insights of caution moving forward in my truth business.
Okay.
Your own truth. And we are. I don't know if you know Idra Shah. Have you ever read Idra Shah?
No.
So he is a Mid-Eastern writer. That was my first book on self. Seeker After Truth, I think it's called, by Idra Shah. And that was Mid-Asian and Eastern spirituality. So, this journey we're on is like an echo. It shows in the ruins. It shows in the tarot. It shows in our astrology. It shows in Kabbalah studies. I've been studying esoteric Kabbalah for quite a while. It shows that it all shows up when we show up for ourselves in that vulnerability and with truth and with honesty. And I think that's what I experienced, because there's so many resonating thoughts and ideas of today that have just helped me out so much for my week to come. And I'm really grateful for everyone that did decide to show up today and give us this complete experience that is showing oneness and the beauty of our spiritualness. It's just, she did. Yeah, Kathy did.
Well, I'm grateful to William, even though we didn't get to hear a whole lot about your personal story. Your thoughts are fascinating, and I'd love to continue the conversation at some point in the near future.
Sure, let me know. Thank you so much for your time, guys. This has been a really fun little break in my day.
Yeah, it was great having you on the show, William. I found so clever and insightful, and the photographs brought so many illuminating stories and journeys. It was great. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you so much for inviting me, and it was nice to talk to you both. And have a great day.
All right, you take care.
Yeah. So shall I wrap us up?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming out. And for everyone out there, know you are beloved. You matter. And you are so very loved.
Yes, thank you for all that vulnerability. I love you as well. See you next Friday at noon.